isn't the way you like to wake up. I don't know where the button is for the turn off all the alarms. We used to have one, but then we changed the alarm system, so I don't have it anymore. But I'm like, oh. So I guess it's just the humidity. Maybe there's like humidity around. It sort of seems like I thought the other person was going to go get something to turn it off, and I realized, oh, maybe they're just leaving the doors open. But I was having this weird ass dream where I was visiting New York for a change. No, it started with the concept of bushfires and lava. So I was wandering around with a couple of different boyfriends um, who lived in bushy areas, and and then the concept of bushfires and lava came off, like a volcano exploded and lava was like seeping, and then everyone was scared of bushfires and lava, and I ended up on a yard looking after two cats, making sure that they didn't step into the lava, and they kept on wanting to, but I had to climb a tree and hold them to make sure that they weren't, you know, they didn't step into the lava, and then it ventured off into, you know, me meeting someone that I've met previously. He's kind of famous, and of course we ended up having some weird ass time. And then I ended up venturing the streets of New York with a relative. And then the relative walked off after having Japanese food. They thought someone was trying to communicate with them. The person that they thought was trying to communicate with them and call them skinny, like they had said a comment about their weight, like, what's happened to your weight or something. And they thought they were talking about them, and then they walked off to see if that person would follow them. And then I ventured off, and I went past a train station that past a museum, and then was like told, hey, and this same person, was targeting me, and then they said, oh, what do you think about this, display? They had a religious painting or a religious art display. And it had like the theory of revelation or something. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Oh, this is really interesting too. So I pretty much looked at all like, 10 paintings and said how interesting they were. And they were just staring at me. And I was like, oh, what gives kind of that attitude? And then I was like, yeah, this was interesting. Well, now that I've sort of finished looking at everything, have a good day kind of attitude. And then I sort of walked out and went to find my relative. Uh, and then I wake up and all these alarms were, sounding off. And I was like, oh, what a headache. And so that was sort of my morning start. I think today is Friday. I don't think I have to do anything today, which is great. I've got to make some calls for one of my jobs because I haven't virtually, no, two of my jobs 'cause I haven't touched the other one for over a week. Um, but I lost one yesterday, so that sort of makes things easy. And stuff like that. So, and then what else do I have to do today? I was going to do some gardening. I was going to maybe do some computer work. I should be watching a movie because I've been waiting a whole week to watch a movie that I haven't seen yet. And I'm a week later, I'm like, I still am waiting to watch the movie. So who knows? Maybe I'll finish the day with watching a movie. I usually wait till at least 5 o'clock to start watching a movie. And yeah. But I was thinking today, like my voice still sounds affected by work, and I was like, that kind of sucks kind of attitude. Sometimes when you work a little harder than usual, it's like, oh, I feel so old. Um, so you're gonna grow older working too hard or something. But anyway, I think that has everything to do with a tired voice because my voice turns a little tired sounding after I've worked. But I worked more than usual this week. But I have today and tomorrow off, and then I work Sunday. So that in itself is okay. But yeah, it was just a little bit busy than usual, and I was like, that's good because I need the money. But that's bad because I feel like I've been overworked. So I've been trying desperately to sort of get another job. And they sort of contacted me yesterday. Oh, do a video. For an application, and the job is more telephone appointment booking, and I was like, oh, jeez. So but they give you like 8 hours a day to do 150 to 300 calls, and I was like, you don't need 8 hours for that many calls. You only need 3 hours. I was like, what else do you need 8 hours for? And I put on the application. I'm not prepared to like spend day and night making calls so that a business could make money, you know, because they had the attitude that, oh, you can do eight hours during the day and a few hours more during the evenings. And I was like, and I thought that they hadn't gotten back to me for like 2 weeks. And I thought, oh, they weren't interested in my application. And now yesterday they got back to me, and I was like, and they were like, oh, you made it to the next round. Let's get an interview video going. And then I was like, oh, I totally thought I'd botched up that, screening process, the preliminary questionnaire, um, because they hadn't contacted me for a while. And I was like, oh, gee, I thought they didn't like my application. So, because I was kind of being honest, like, I'm not gonna make calls during the day and calls during an evening when you're only requiring 150 to 300 calls. Literally, I can do double that in 8 hours. And I don't really know why you would bother with doing day and night for that many calls. But it could be like you have to explain a lot. I mean, that would make sense because it is like a course thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I have the brain for doing lengthy calls. And oh, better pick it up because I'm trying to get off Centrelink because they're sort of bothering me. Which reminds me, that's one thing I have to do. I have to contact Centrelink. I'm trying to get off Centrelink because I've been on it for like ages and they're trying to beat me away from it. And I'm like, well, I better put my hand up for this job even though I technically don't want it. Like, I technically just like working as I am. But I'm only doing part-time hours and I need full-time hours to get off Centrelink. So technically I just like working as I am, and technically I just want to use my spare time for leisure. But technically I'm not earning enough money to get off Centrelink, so technically I have to keep looking for work, and I'm like, are you kidding? To do more work over what I already do I know I'm steaming ahead with work right now, but it's intermittent work, and so it's like comes and goes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Um, because I already feel like I'm doing like too much work. um, I don't know if this job pays per hour or per commission. I put in my application I'm not gonna do the job if it's per commission because I find commission work just wasted time because they say full time hours plus extended hours and you're getting $5,000 to $8,000 a month, and I was like, how much are you getting per hour? Like $10. So obviously you're making like more like $8,000 to $12,000 a month if you're doing full time hours plus extended hours. Um, and you're only getting 5 to 8K, and you're like going, what gives? So they haven't outlined the payment structure. So I put on my application, I'm not prepared to work commission only because that's a waste of time, and I don't do that. So, um, I'm yet to get to the stage where they teach me how the payment structure works. And if they say, hey, you made it so far, and guess what, it's commission only, I'm going to be like, that's crap. I can't do commission only because I've already got two. I did have three, but now I've got two commission only jobs and they don't earn anything. Anyway, I guess I just have to dive into it and see. I sort of was half hoping that I'd be picked up by another job application, and they haven't gotten back to me. And so I'm like, if this one takes a couple more weeks to process, I'll be like, but at the moment it's like, anyway, I gotta, I gotta go. I gotta get up and start my day with. I was gonna do some gardening first, but then, because we're trying to chop back some weeds, and then I was just gonna do whatever with the rest of my day.